Lianthra, an elven ranger, moved through the dense forest where the last rays of the setting sun pierced through the tree canopies, casting whimsical shadows on the ground. Her movements were silent, her steps as light as a falling leaf. She had spent the entire day in pursuit, and her body, despite its fatigue, was as tense as a drawn bowstring. She felt that she was being followed, and this sensation had not left her since the morning. The tension in the air mixed with the scent of damp earth and pine needles. Her eyes, accustomed to the darkness, scanned every bush, every stump, searching for the slightest hint of an ambush. An inner voice, which had never failed her, screamed of danger, but her pride would not allow her to simply run. She was a warrior, and her duty was to finish her reconnaissance. Finally, she stopped, listening to every sound of the forest. It was too quiet. There was no birdsong, no rustling of leaves, no scurrying of small animals. This deadly silence was the most frightening sign. The silence was abruptly replaced by a whistle. The first arrow, shot from the darkness, flew just inches from her ear and lodged itself in the trunk of an ancient oak. Lianthra instantly drew her dagger, her body reacting to the danger faster than her mind. The orcs, who had been hiding in ambush, emerged from the shadows. There were many of them, and they surrounded her, forming a tight circle. Lianthra knew there was no chance, but she had no intention of surrendering. She threw herself into the fight, her movements like a dance, deadly, graceful, and beautiful. She dodged the first axe, plunging her dagger into the attacker's side. Another orc, a much larger one, grabbed her and lifted her into the air. Lianthra tried to break free, but his grip was too strong. She looked into her enemy's eyes, and in them there was nothing but cold fury. Her hope waned with every passing second. At the most critical moment, when her strength had almost left her, a thunderous roar echoed through the forest. It was Larian, the druid, her old friend. Transformed into a massive bear, he burst from the depths of the forest. His paws scattered the orcs like fallen leaves. His rage was truly wild. Lianthra took advantage of the moment, twisted free from the orc's grip, and kicked him with all her might to ensure he wouldn't get up again. She saw Larian fighting and knew she had a chance. She drew a second dagger, and together they became a single entity, a harmony of two forces fighting for survival. When the last orc fell, Larian returned to his elven form, and they both, breathing heavily, sank to the ground. Lianthra felt her legs trembling from the exertion. She collapsed onto the grass, closing her eyes. Larian approached her, his gaze filled with concern. Without a word, he knelt down. He carefully took her boots, slowly unfastened them, and slipped them off, allowing her feet to finally feel the cool earth. Then he gently lifted one of her feet and placed it on his lap. He began to massage it slowly, from the strong calf to the very tips of her toes. Lianthra felt her body relax, and the tension left with each of his touches. She had never allowed herself such vulnerability, but now, in Larian's presence, she felt completely safe. His touches said more than any words. They were a recognition of her strength, her resilience, and the tenderness he felt for her. In that moment, in the middle of the forest, after the battle, a bond formed between them that was deeper than just friendship. His touches were gentle yet firm, and Lianthra felt a warm energy flow from his hands to her tired muscles. He massaged every calf, every arch of her foot, as if studying them like a work of art. Larian had always admired her strength, her endurance, but now, in this moment, he was not just admiring, he was healing. He knew that the calluses and small scars on her feet were not blemishes, but a story of her life, told without words. He slowly ran his hands from her ankles up to her knees, and she felt her body completely relax under his touch. The tension that had accumulated for weeks disappeared as if it had never existed. Lianthra allowed herself to completely trust him, closing her eyes and simply enjoying the moment. Not a single word was spoken between them, and in that silence there was a unique beauty and a deep meaning. Larian didn't ask if she was in pain or tell her she was brave. He expressed everything through his care. His hands were his language, and Lianthra understood every word. She felt his touches say, "I am here, you are safe, you are strong. I admire you." She, in turn, expressed her gratitude and trust through her relaxed breathing and the softness of her body. In that moment, they were not just a warrior and a druid, but two kindred spirits who had found solace in each other. This secret language was understood only by them and was far more intimate than any conversation. When Larian finished the massage, he carefully placed her feet back on the ground and sat down beside her, putting his arm around her shoulders. Night had descended upon the forest, and the sky above them was filled with a myriad of stars. They sat in silence, enjoying the peace and each other's presence. The moonlight pierced through the tree canopies, illuminating their faces. Lianthra looked at him, and there was no fear or fatigue in her eyes, only deep gratitude. She saw the reflection of the stars in his eyes and realized that her heart belonged to him. Larian gently lifted her chin and looked into her eyes. "You are never alone, Lianthra," he whispered. These simple words were more precious to her than any treasure. She knew he would always be by her side, always be her protector. She leaned in and kissed him tenderly. This kiss was not just an expression of passion, it was a promise. A promise that they would always be together, that they would fight side by side, that they would love each other no matter what. In that moment, in the middle of the wild forest, they found something more valuable than any victory they found each other. Larian started a small fire, and its warm light danced on their faces. Lianthra sat with her head on his shoulder, gazing at the flames. She had never felt so peaceful. Usually after a battle, the adrenaline would linger, keeping her on high alert. But now, with Larian by her side, she allowed herself to completely relax. She listened as he told her how he found them, how he felt her pain when she was ambushed. He spoke softly, so as not to disturb the tranquility of the night forest. His voice was like a balm for her soul. Lianthra felt protected, as she had never felt before. She rested her head on his lap, and he began to stroke her hair. This evening became a moment for both of them to truly open up to each other. They sat like that until dawn, talking about the past and dreaming of the future. Lianthra told him about her fears, about the pressure she felt as a ranger. She confessed that sometimes she got tired of the constant struggle. Larian listened to her attentively, without interrupting, his eyes full of understanding. He told her about his own difficulties, how hard it was to be a druid in a modern world where nature constantly suffers from destructive forces. He admitted that he also gets tired, but the thought of her always gives him strength. In that moment, they realized that they were not just friends, but kindred spirits. With the first rays of the sun, they prepared to leave. Larian carefully helped Lianthra put on her boots. She felt that he had become even more tender towards her. As they walked, he held her hand, as if afraid she might disappear into the forest again. The sun pierced through the trees, and the forest, which just a few hours ago had been a battlefield, once again became beautiful. Lianthra looked around and realized that the world was not so bad, as long as the one who loves you is by your side. She smiled at Larian, and he smiled back at her. Their journey home was filled with tenderness and care. They walked slowly, enjoying every moment. Larian would stop now and then to pick a flower for her or show her an interesting plant. He told her stories about the forest, about its secrets and magic. Lianthra listened to him, captivated. Her legs were not as heavy, and her body was not as tired because Larian was by her side. She understood that with him, she could be herself, without the mask of a warrior, without fear or doubt. On this day, they were not just walking home, they were walking towards a new life, a new stage in their relationship. When they approached the camp, the sun was already high in the sky. Noticing them, the guards at the entrance lowered their bows. Seeing Lianthra, they smiled, and when they saw her holding Larian's hand, their smiles grew even wider. They knew that these two were two sides of the same coin, and their union was known and revered in the tribe. Lianthra felt a warmth spread through her body at the realization that their relationship was no longer a secret, but a source of pride. She gently squeezed Larian's hand, and he responded in kind. In their hands, intertwined, there was not only love, but also a promise of loyalty and protection. Upon entering the camp, they immediately headed to her hut. Larian locked the door so that no one could disturb them. Lianthra, tired but happy, shed her armor. Larian helped her, carefully removing each piece. When she was left in light clothing, he helped her sit by the hearth. He took a basin of warm water and dipped her feet into it. She let out a soft sigh of pleasure, feeling the warmth envelop her calves and feet. Larian knelt down and began to gently wash her feet. He gently massaged her soles, washing away the dust and fatigue that had accumulated during their days on the road. Larian had always found her legs incredibly attractive. To him, they were the embodiment of her strength and resilience. He loved every detail, the powerful yet graceful calves that spoke of her strength as a ranger, and the delicate feet that, despite all the hardships, remained beautiful and feminine. Now, as he washed them, he gently ran his fingers along every curve, every line. His touches were filled with such deep admiration and adoration that Lianthra felt like the most beautiful and desired woman in the world. She placed her hand on his head, enjoying the moment. After washing her feet, Larian dried them with a soft towel, and then took out the oil that druids used for healing. He began to slowly but surely rub it into her skin. His hands glided over her legs, and Lianthra felt her body completely relax. She closed her eyes and allowed herself to fully immerse in the moment. In these minutes, as he cared for her, she felt absolutely happy. All her fears, all her worries dissolved. Next to him, she was not just a warrior, but a woman, and she reveled in that feeling. When Larian finished, he put away the basin of water and lay down beside Lianthra on her bed, pulling her close. Her legs, relaxed and cared for, rested on the soft fur. She nestled her face in his chest, breathing in the familiar scent of the forest and fresh earth. They lay in silence, enjoying the moment of complete peace. On this evening, they didn't need words. Their bodies, their breathing, their heartbeats, everything spoke for them. Larian gently lifted her hand and tenderly kissed her palm. "I love you, Lianthra," he whispered. Those words echoed in her heart. She looked into his eyes, and there was nothing but boundless love and tenderness. She answered him, her voice full of emotion. "I love you too, Larian." In that moment, their bond became something more than just friendship. They woke up with the first rays of the sun that were streaming through the window of the hut. Lianthra felt that her body had completely recovered. She felt not just rested, but renewed, as if she had been reborn. She looked at Larian, who was still asleep, and her heart filled with tenderness. She carefully got up, took her boots, and left the hut. Lianthra found Larian in the clearing behind the hut. He had already taken his bare form, waiting for her. She walked up to him, stroked his head, and together they left the camp, heading into the forest. Their path was a symbol of their relationship. They would always be by each other's side, always protect each other, and their love would grow like an ancient forest, strong and eternal.